So, Jurassic World Evolution 3. Evolution 3 was a game that has been highly speculated ever since the final DLC for Jurassic World Evolution 2 released. And for a while, there have been many speculation as to when Frontier would do an announcement for the game, when it would release, so on and so forth. And then over this weekend, we finally got our first trailer for the game. And then, I'm super glad that I waited to do this, because on Sunday we even got more information regarding Evolution 3. So yeah, in this video we're going to be going through everything. We'll be going through the two trailers, the first one releasing on Friday, I believe, and the second one releasing on Sunday. And we'll also be going through all the information from the pages, and then we're just going to talk about some of my hopes and concerns for the game. So right off the bat, we'll just start with the two pages, starting with the Evolution website. Oh, wait. No! So right off the bat, on the official Jurassic World Evolution website, the first thing you'll see is help life find a way. Build your own Jurassic World like never before. Nurture generations of awe-inspiring dinosaurs. Create and manage sprawling prehistoric parks against stunning backdrops around the globe. And let your creativity roar with powerful new customization options. Will you help life find a way? And then we have features, we have game modes, latest news, which we'll talk about in a bit. But yeah, let's start with features. It simply says, in the next installment of the award-winning game series, Jurassic World Evolution 3 once again puts you in control of building and running your very own Jurassic World parks. Create and manage sprawling prehistoric parks around the globe while doing your best to harness the chaotic power of nature across multiple game modes. Meet fresh and familiar faces in a new narrative campaign. Create a custom sandbox park free of constraints or face tough decisions against the clock in challenge mode. So yeah, we'll be talking about the campaign mode, sandbox mode, and challenge mode in a bit. And yeah, there's also I do find it kind of weird that we're seeing like deluxe edition and pre-order bonuses in this part. I only say that because it feels just a little misleading. It's like saying, oh yeah, this content is going to be in the game, when it's not. A deluxe edition or pre-order the game in order to get some of this stuff. So in construction, we have craft your own Jurassic World experience using powerful creative constructions. Yeah, this is like this is more or less giving us the same information as before. Manipulate terrain, build expansive enclosures, and construct exciting attractions to keep guests entertained. Then we have the nurture feature. Bring prehistory into the modern era with bioengineered and naturally bred dinosaurs that think, feel, and react to the environment you create for them, with awe-inspiring prehistoric species, with new species, community favorites, and icons from the Jurassic World franchise, including Velociraptor, T-Rex, and Indominus Rex, as you nurture incredible animals across the land, lagoons, and skies of your park. And then we have the final feature, which is manage. Keep your park operating and profitable as you increase your park's appeal. Raise dinosaurs and welcome guests. Prepare for when things inevitably go wrong with an expanded arsenal, including new security cameras and maintenance ATV teams to grapple with the threats posed by fierce weather, dinosaurs escaping, and potential sabotage from rival factions. And yeah, oh wait a minute, there's another bonus in here. Sign up and receive an email exclusive ATV skin at launch. Okay, I'll think about that. Yeah, and then we have probably one of the most interesting features of the game, that being the generations of dinosaurs. Guide, breed, and nurture families of dinosaurs across entire generations as you rear them from playful juveniles into awe-inspiring adults. We have a little blurb here for the juveniles. Raising young ones is no small feat, and it's no different for dinosaurs. Juvenile dinosaurs bring a new challenge to animals management, coming with their own needs and behaviors as they interact with the world around them. The moment they leave the nest, provide them with the correct support, and you'll successfully rear your juveniles into majestic adults, attracting more guests to your park. And there was something here about the petting zoo finally being introduced, which was something that was seen in the first Jurassic World, and I think was requested in the past two entries of the game. So it's nice that we're finally seeing a lot of the things that people have been requesting since the first game, like baby dinosaurs too, finally appearing in Jurassic World Evolution 3. Better late than never. Yeah, sure. Genetic inheritance. Bioengineering returns in Jurassic World Evolution 3. Select traits for your synthesized dinosaurs to make them hardier and increase their fertility. Okay. And then pass them down to their offspring, as juvenile dinosaurs inherit their parents' appearances and traits. Okay, so I was actually thinking about this because from the looks of the game, you still have the customizable skin option. And we'll talk more about that in a bit because there's a couple things I want to point out. But yeah, the fact that we have customizable skins, and you could change the the base skin color and the pattern skin color, made me wonder if the babies will inherit that, or maybe they'll get some mutations, like maybe we'll get some albinoism, or what was the other one called? Melanism, I think. Yeah, that's going to be exciting. And I know that, like, with a lot of playthroughs, trying to like recreate a proper ecosystem in these evolution games is kind of hard because those who are managing them always have to rear up new dinosaurs by going into the hatcheries. So the fact that we have animals that can breed with each other, yeah, it's going to be really fun and interesting to see what people will make with those systems in place. Alright, final feature, advanced behaviors. Featuring over 70 prehistoric family units, Jurassic World Evolution 3 breeds even more life into these majestic animals. Dinosaurs raise and protect their young, compete for territory, and react to the environment you build for them, with sauropods wading across deep water and pterosaurs walking across the ground. Alright, that was another feature I'm pretty sure more people wanted to see, because I believe in Evolution 2, the Pteranodons, when they land, they don't walk, they just kind of stand there, or just get to the stations that they need to. So food, water, they'll just go there, get what they need, and then they just take off and do whatever instead of actually walking on the ground. So yeah, I never even noticed that when I was playing Evolution 2. So yeah, it's nice to see that's going to be something that's finally coming in Evolution 3, I guess. Alright, now we have creativity evolved. Yeah, it's like, what's there to say about the new creative options? For one, it definitely kind of reminds me of Planet Zoo. Like, the terrain options are definitely way more advanced in this game when compared to Jurassic World Evolution 2 and 1. So, yeah, and it looks like we will be able to, make, like, really steep cliff faces or multi-level enclosures, which, that sounds really exciting, honestly. And, yeah, it's like, yeah, I'm sorry. It's like there's a lot of features in here that's making me even more excited about the game. Finally, we have the epic globe-trotting campaign. Travel around the globe, navigating the conflicting human interests and rival factions at the heart of dinosaur conservation. Join familiar faces from the Jurassic World franchise, including Dr. Ian Malcolm, voiced by Jeff Goldblum, and embark on an international endeavor to create homes for dinosaurs around the world. As a park manager for the newly established Dinosaur Integration Network, you must navigate the turbulent world of dinosaur conservation and deliver results for the DIN's prospective clients as they attempt to build dinosaur sanctuaries, commercial parks, and secure facilities to protect the public. Yeah, that sounds actually really interesting. A Jurassic World, with dinosaurs now spread to every corner of the globe, the future of these prehistoric species is on the line. Unfortunately, not everyone agrees on how to treat these magnificent animals, as commodities, animals in need of protection, or simply a threat to be removed. So, yeah, it looks like we might be seeing a repeat of what was showcased in Evolution 2, almost, but it seems like there's way more depth now. It seems like we need to not only protect the dinosaurs from potential poachers that want to make a profit off of them, but it looks like we might even need to go after individuals that want to actively harm the animals. But we'll talk more about that in a bit when we're talking about the hopes section. Choose your path, complete objectives, and make key narrative decisions to earn or lose a reputation with these three factions. Okay, so this is basically exactly like for the last two games. And in case you don't know, throughout Evolution 1 and 2, there are three factions that you need to kind of work with, that being entertainment, science, and security. And you need to do a healthy number of missions between the three and complete those enough times to kind of raise their satisfaction. Otherwise, if their satisfaction reads below a certain threshold, they'll like sabotage your park, like either cutting the power, releasing the animals, and you know, it's just things like that. It's just kind of, it's an extra thing to look after and kind of manage, which kind of keeps the gameplay pretty much more engaging throughout the 3 campaigns, or even in sandbox mode if you decide to choose that. So yeah, I think that's everything on the official website. Oh yeah, there is one more thing I forgot to mention. So social creativity. So it turns out that when you build a park, you can now share it with peers. Now that was something that was attempted in Evolution 2, and it had like varying results. I think it worked for the most part, but it's nice to know that now there is an active way of sharing your parks with your peers or with the greater Jurassic World Evolution community. And yeah, like seeing the creative options, you know, the overhaul on the terrain tools, making like multiple levels, or the new modular buildings, which I really hope that with how much customization is going into the buildings, that we can finally recreate the buildings that we've seen in Jurassic World, which sadly had been lost between Evolution 1 and 2. So hopefully that will be the case. But I'd say like the one thing I'm really hoping from this is like, for me, the creative side of Jurassic World Evolution was never really my thing. I did like dip my toe a little bit trying to recreate Jurassic World for a project, but yeah, it's like, I'd say Evolution 2 was definitely more advanced, and even then it felt like there was only so much I could get away with that game. So yeah, with this game, it looks like not only will we be able to make probably the most visually eye-catching parks in the entirety of this trilogy, but it seems like with the tools that are being presented, we might finally be able to make a one-to-one perfect recreation of Jurassic World. Because like, we'll talk about it when we go over the videos, but in the videos, it seems like you can make any kind of building you want. You could even make like cabins, which is something that you actually see in the first Jurassic World movie. So that's honestly kind of exciting, and it kind of makes me wonder how far the decorations go, because you could even make like a desolate city, a small town that's been like ravaged by dinosaurs. And since this takes place throughout the world, and we're going to be having access to maps throughout the world, like China, Japan, Hawaii was mentioned, and yeah, I'll just leave up like the map up on screen to show you all the locations that will apparently be showcased in the campaign. So yeah, that's pretty exciting. And yeah, I think the last thing we need to talk about are game modes. So there's not really much to talk about. It seems like the 3 main game modes are coming back. So we have campaign, sandbox, and challenge mode. Now, I will say there is a game mode in here that I'm not seeing, that being Chaos Theory, which is kind of a shame, because Chaos Theory really kind of did a lot of heavy lifting with the last game. Evolution 2's campaign was, I'm not going to mince words, it was dog water, alright? It was, like, it had a pretty good start, but then you get to the end and it was like, where's the rest of it? What happened? And you know, this is going to go into another conversation when we're talking about the concerns and my personal thoughts on the Jurassic World trilogy. Hopefully, this campaign will be satisfying. I mean, from the looks of it, we are getting like 9-10 missions in total, which is, I think, almost twice as much as Evolution 2. I'm gonna have to double check that, but hopefully the campaigns will definitely be better than what was in Evolution 2. I still say that Evolution 1's campaign was pretty good. I'm saying I hope it's good because there's no mention of Chaos Theory, and if there's no Chaos Theory, then yeah, the game might suffer more for that. But yeah, let's move on to the Steam page. Let's go. It's probably going to be a repeat of all that information, but might as well. Okay, so in the About Games section in the Steam store, it says the next entry of the award-winning Jurassic World. Okay, yeah, this is a little different. So, on the Steam page it says, the next entry of the award-winning series Jurassic World Evolution 3 puts you in control building and running your own Jurassic World. Help and find a way by synthesizing, breeding, and nurturing prehistoric species, managing each species and allow them to thrive while helping your dinosaurs raise families and pass their genes onto the future generations. Create incredible havens for your dinosaurs to help them flourish. build exciting new attractions, and amaze guests, and maintain control when disaster inevitably strikes. So yeah, we have the thing here, with over 80 awe-inspiring species, 75 of which allow you to manage, breed, and nurture families of dinosaurs across entire generations, rear them from playful juveniles into awe-inspiring adults, each with distinct female, male, and juvenile variants. Park guests will marvel at the majestic dinosaurs, socialize, and react to vibrant worlds around them. Manage unique social needs and observe brand new behaviors with semi-aquatic dinosaurs return into deep water and pterosaurs walking on land. Okay, then we have create jaw-dropping parks with neat creative tools never before seen in Jurassic World Evolution series, from groundbreaking terrain editing and modular scenery customization. Build and tweak every aspect of your park from the ground up. Build your sites with naturalistic enclosures using steep slopes and scenery. Introduce stunning new attractions such as balloon tours, a close-up attraction that helps guests see and touch prehistoric animals with dinosaur encounters, and more. Create, upload, and share cross-platform community creations using the Frontier Workshop. Browse the very best creations from the community, place them in your game, and craft your own custom parks, building and enclosures before sharing for other players to use. Control the chaos. I don't think we covered this one. But it was getting a little dry. Set your site up to run as efficiently as possible with powerful and accessible park management tools. Provide control over your park's operations, but chaos is the only certainty. So prepare for disaster using new security cameras that will help automate the response to escaped dinosaurs, and deploy your maintenance team to keep threats contained by delivering critical repairs across the site. And then there's this thing about AI generated content, which we'll talk about in the concerns part of the video. Now, going over the announcement trailer and the initial game trailer. Oh, wait a minute. So, nothing much in the initial shot of the announcement trailer. We see Brachiosaurus and Parasaurolophus running around, and then we have this shot of the mosasaur with some very big babies. Like, these juveniles are almost like half the size of the adults. So yeah, and given like some of the details on them, like they have the like little baby eyes, the big heads. It's a little intimidating how big they are compared to the adults. So there's that. Here we have an example of the walking pterosaurs, which again, never noticed that the pterosaurs in Evolution 2 never walked. So yeah, it didn't really catch me off guard. But then we have another baby. Also, I might as well mention, this is Geostembergia. I believe that's how it's pronounced. That's a confirmed species out of the 75, out of the 80, out of the 82. Yeah, I think it might have made the cut because Geostembergia was actually supposed to be in the Lost World Jurassic Park. So yeah, maybe the canon species are going to take more priority when being in terms of making the roster. But again, it's like, I think it's safer to just wait and see what the full roster is before we can really make some assumptions as to what the 80 plus species are. And also there is a part in the concern section where we'll talk about the rebirth species and some of the implications of some recent information about rebirth that was released recently. So yeah, we had Geostembergia, we have baby Triceratopses. We have this map here, and I'm gonna make a guess and say this might be Malta. The environment is pretty similar, and I think one thing we need to take in is how big this map is. This might honestly be one of the biggest maps in the entire trilogy, but yeah, I don't know. It's like gameplay trailers and footage like that do tend to misconstrue how big maps are, but I guess we'll find out soon enough. But yeah, it looks pretty big. There we have the cherry blossoms and the Japanese-style buildings. Nothing new with Jurassic World there, with certain constructions or buildings matching the environment, more or less. But yeah, we have more baby Brachiosaurus. So actually, we have Brachiosaurus in the background waiting in the water, but we'll talk more about that later on with a more prevalent species that likes water. And yeah, it's honestly, the amount of times they show baby dinosaurs in this trailer, I do agree with Beaver when he said this feels like the baby update, but yeah, it's lots of showcases of baby dinosaurs, and also this Allosaurus. So yeah, we'll talk more about that in a bit, but looks like we're having the movie Allosaur in the game. I'm not sure if we're going to be getting the Evolution 1 and Evolution 2 Allosaurs back, but yeah, I do have a theory about that, and we'll talk about that in my hopes and concerns part of the video. And yeah, we have T-Rex and baby T-Rexes. There's some implications here that I really want to talk about, but we'll get there when we get there. And yeah, Jurassic World Evolution 3. And then we have pretty much all the footage that everyone's been sharing, you know, the advanced terrain tools, the sexual dimorphism, the nests, this ATV cart, and the T-Rex just launching it off the cliff. But yeah. I was going to do like a little theory part as to what the this East Asian environment was going to be, but yeah, it's practically been confirmed to be Japan. Whether or not that's a little reference to Godzilla, I don't know. Alright, now we have the gameplay trailer. Yeah, and it's basically some of the stuff we already seen in the announcement trailer. We have the petting zoo now, Baby Velociraptor, which we saw in the initial one. We also have this organization called the DIN, or the Dinosaur Integration Network, which we read about in the official website for the game and the Steam store page. We have more baby dinosaurs, more rerun footage from the announcement trailer. Yeah, I do want to talk about the buildings, because there is one concern I have, which is simply, does implementing more design to the buildings increase the star rating? Because for me, I'm all about convenience. Now I know some people are going to love this, but I really do hope that, you know, again, I'm all about the gameplay aspect. I really like playing around with the dinosaurs, but I do wonder if, you know, do we have to customize every single building in order to have a better star rating, or will there be modular buildings like we've seen in the previous two games? Because I'm all about fast and convenient, and if I do want to take my time with it, I hope that is an option. I hope that not every building requires me to spend like 3 hours to put in every minute detail, you know, windows, doors, all that, just to make a functional building. I'd much rather have a building that is ready for me to place down, and if I do want to customize it, that is its own separate option rather than being a core gameplay mechanic. So yeah, it's more rerun footage, more buildings, same shot from Japan, dinosaur being carried off by a herd of Triceratops, yeah, and then we have the incubation, we have the sexual dimorphism, and yeah, we have like baby dinosaurs fighting. Now I'm pretty sure this is, yeah, everyone's been saying kind of the same thing, that the baby dinosaurs are going to have a different animation set to the adults. Don't know if we talked about the species being cut out, but I will say that the fact that we are getting, 70 species that are going to be able to copulate with each other to make babies, it's pretty much almost doubled the amount of dinosaurs that there are, actually, because the babies require their own rigs, their own animations, because, you know, babies. It is semi-understandable why they cut out almost 40 species, but we'll talk more about that in the concern part, because there is something that I think we need to talk about when it comes to the future of the game, DLCs, and whatnot, but for now, still doing the analysis. Yeah, more of the modular buildings. Again, I hope that we could just place a building down, and if we have the option to extend it, hopefully that will be available. Yeah, and the advanced terrain tools. This is honestly going to be really exciting. I can't wait to make like a multi-leveled enclosure for certain species. Yeah, so we have a view of the campaign with the map, which again I think I already have it up. And yeah, this part is actually pretty interesting, because it looks like that not only do we have to worry about the 3 factions that we need to keep happy, but it looks like we might be having an antagonist that's out there. That is actively trying to sabotage our parks. And, you know, if we, you know, go through all the information, that seems to be the case. It's like we are in the DING, and we're trying to go against this other foundation, I guess. And I heard rumors that it's called Extinction Now, which, I don't know, we'll see more, because I don't think there's any information about this organization that is actively sabotaging us revealed yet, but yeah. So yeah, it's kind of nice that we have an active antagonist in the campaign now, rather than, you know, scripted events, more or less. Even though I do kind of enjoy some of the scripted events. Insert Secrets of Doctor Wu DLC story missions here. And yeah. Oh wait, actually, that Velociraptor. Yeah, I think that Velociraptor has the Evolution 1 and Evolution 2 patterns. And yeah, that's the 2 trailers from Jurassic World Evolution. Some content creators had access to 2 special videos, that being the, I believe it's the baby dinosaurs, and the modular buildings, which I think we've talked more or less about. Oh wait, actually, wait a minute. No! Okay, so a friend of mine mentioned this, but yeah, that's honestly kind of disappointing. We'll talk more about it when we get into the hopes and concerns part of the video. Yeah, that's the 2 trailers, and we have you know, the deluxe edition with 4 additional dinosaur families, that being the Guanlong, Protoceratops concavenator, and Thoraxodraxon. But yeah, 2 of these species are already in Evolution 2. I think one of them was in the base game, and the other one was part of one of the final DLCs, which, yeah, we're going to talk about that in a bit. But we also have a Lux skin for the Mosasaur, which, that's kind of disappointing, because I saw this initial screenshot, I was like, oh, wait a minute. Does this mean that all the dinosaurs have Lux variants? But we'll talk about that in a bit. Alright, so right off the bat, let's talk about the breeding and baby dinosaurs. So there has been more information that released recently about this. So right off the bat, out of the 80 to 82 species, depending on which version of the game you buy, only 75 of them are going to be able to breed with each other. Now, a lot of people have speculated that, this means that you know, the Indominus Rex and the Indoraptor won't be able to reproduce. So yeah, I think that's kind of like a no-brainer that, yeah, hybrids, specifically those 2, we'll talk about the other ones in a bit, will probably won't breed. However, this does bring up the question of asexual dinosaurs, because throughout the Jurassic World franchise, we have like 2 main examples of animals that managed to reproduce without the aid of a partner. These specifically being the Scorpius Rex from Camp Cretaceous Season 3, and more notably, Blue from Jurassic World Dominion, who managed to make Beta all by herself. Although there is the oh wait, actually no, that goes against it. Okay, never mind. But yeah, it does raise the question of, will certain animals be able to breed without the aid of a partner, which from the sounds of it, that might not be the case. But yeah, it is kind of curious to see if that's going to be a feature in the game, where certain species are able to reproduce on their own. Next thing I want to talk about is the sexual dimorphism in the game. So one thing I do want to bring up is the fact that, going back to the movie Allosaur, and it not being the Allosaur that we saw in Jurassic World Evolution 1 and 2. Okay, so quick side note here. When the Allosaurus was featured in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, it was a baby. It was a young variant of the animal. It wasn't exactly an adult. So, Frontier took some creative liberties to making an adult version of the animal, and this leads us to the Jurassic World Evolution version of the adult Allosaurus. However, Battle of Big Rock came out, and it showcased what an actual adult Allosaurus would look like. That version of the animal would not be implemented until the second Dominion DLC for Evolution 2. And then, after that, Evolution 2 started releasing different variants of certain animals, because there were animals that were implemented into Evolution 1 that ended up being in Evolution 2, but those animals also ended up being showcased in Jurassic World Dominion, and they had different looks to the animals that were made in Evolution 1. So that led us to having variants. That, you know, the Allosaurus has a variant, the Giganotosaurus has a variant, and same thing with the Dreadnoughtus. With the addition of sexual dimorphism, I do wonder if this is more or less me just hoping for the best for the developers rather than hoping for more content. But my question is simply, will they use some of these variants as sexual dimorphism versions of certain species? So the Gaming Beaver actually made a really good point about this, talking about how the Draco Rex might be completely removed from Jurassic World Evolution 3, because there's this debate going on whether or not Draco Rex is actually a baby Pachycephalosaurus, or if it's its own species. And if that's the case, then that might actually be a really great way of showcasing some of the animals that we think may be cut but could be reintegrated in a different way. So Dracorex could be a baby Pachycephalosaurus instead of being its own species. And in the case of the sexual dimorphism with the variants, maybe instead of having, 4 sets of animals, so you have like the Legacy Evolution Allosaurus, for example, and then you have the movie variant, rather than having, variant 1 having both a male and female version of itself, followed up by variant 2 having a male and female version of itself. Maybe instead have version 1 be a male or female of the species, and then have variant 2 represent the opposite sex. And that would greatly reduce the amount of work needed, because again, this is a new feature, a new main feature in the game. There's going to be, if you implement just one species, you suddenly have 3 times the work, because now you need to have the adult rig, then you need to make a male or female variant of that species with the model that you have, and then after that, you need to make an entirely new rig with whole new animations, with a whole new model for the baby variant. So, it's the amount of work needed to make a male to female variant, which the Triceratops more or less proves that there's not too much of a difference. Maybe the frill is a bit bigger and the horns are shaped a little differently. But outside of that, the majority of the mold of the model is more or less the same to the female variant. So, I really do hope that Frontier will use some of these different versions of the animals. The original Giganotosaurus could be the male variant, and then the Dominion version could be the female variant, so on and so forth, rather than making twice the amount of sets needed for the game. So yeah, that's my only hope. Now, there's also been a conversation about how babies will grow into adult animals. There's been some speculation that it will be seamless growth between babies to adults. Some have speculated that it's just going to be, you're going to have the baby and it's suddenly going to be an adult. I actually had some stipulations that maybe the babies are just, like a little feature, and, as soon as they're born, they just kind of, they die. That would kind of go against some of the information that we've been reading, which says that you can raise generations of dinosaurs. So once the babies are born, they will grow into their own adults, and then those adults will copulate with each other to make the next generation of dinosaurs, and so on and so forth. And the Gaming Beaver in his latest video actually stated that having animals breed with each other would actually be a cheaper alternative rather than generating animals through the hatcheries. I guess baby dinosaurs would be able to grow up to adults and make their own babies, pretty much. As to what extent this is going to be, whether it's going to be seamless translation or the babies just suddenly turn into adults, that has yet to be seen, but I guess we'll find out. Alright, next up we have, I forgot to mention this in the trailer because I was just ready to get started with everything else, but we have swimming dinosaurs. So the first one that we saw is Brachiosaurus wading in the water, they were up to their shoulders, which means that's a pretty deep pool, to say the least. But I think more prevalent is the fact that we have both an image and a small clip of a Spinosaurus swimming in water. And yeah, that is honestly, again, this is something that that everyone's been requesting, that they wanted to see since the first game, so it's great. But this also brings up more implications and more questions about how this new deep water system will work. Will aquatic animals be able to live in these deeper pools? Will we finally be able to see the marine reptiles and the land dinosaurs managing to interact with each other? Because yeah, it's the lagoon system, while it was very much needed for Evolution 2, it didn't really feel as advanced as it could be. Whenever, there's been many experiments about this, but we see dinosaurs being flung into the aquarium, but the aquatic reptiles don't really do anything with the bodies. They don't eat them. And also you have the pterosaurs, which will sometimes perch themselves near the lagoon, but there's no interaction there. So I do wonder if this new deep water feature is going to be a possible alternative to aquariums. And it looks like aquariums are still a feature in Jurassic World Evolution 2, but if we do have an option to have deep water pools housing aquatic reptiles, then the implications there are quite, basically what I'm trying to say is we might finally be able to recreate like the final moments of the Indominus Rex in Jurassic World Evolution. So yeah, let's talk about modular building customization. So I do only have one hope for this, and that is to finally be able to recreate buildings from the movie. So I already mentioned this before, how it seems like you can make like little shacks, little houses, and you know the customization with that is you know, unprecedented. Like definitely way more than what we've seen in Evolution 2, which I definitely argue had the most advanced building customization for the games up to that point. So yeah, it's I only bring this up is because I've been trying to recreate Jurassic World for quite a while for a different project, but it seems that the buildings that they had available in Evolution 2 just weren't close nor accurate to what appeared in the movie. Instead, we had that in Evolution 1. And you know, this is kind of like an example of missing content between the games, which we'll talk more about. But yeah, if that's the case, then I really hope that we'll be able to recreate Jurassic World from the movie in Jurassic World Evolution 3. And also there's like the fact that we can share maps and also blueprints of certain buildings, so that's honestly going to be pretty exciting. So yeah, I'm expecting nothing but great creations from everybody. Larger maps, yeah, it does look like some of these maps are absolutely massive, like definitely larger than some of the maps that we've seen in Evolution 2, which I think that was actually a main selling point of Evolution 2, is like these are some of the biggest maps that you'll ever see. But it did feel like some of those maps didn't really live up to that expectation, although there have been like many additions to the sandbox options for Evolution 2 that allows us to play around in a bigger, well, sandbox. So yeah, but if anything, it does look like Evolution 3 might take the cake for having the largest maps. But again, as I mentioned before, gameplay footage has a way of making things seem a little bit bigger, but I guess we'll find out once the game releases this October. Okay, now let's talk about my personal hopes for the game. So first off, we have the potential integration of lost content from Evolution 1, and well, we don't know what's exactly missing from Evolution 2 since Evolution 3 didn't come out yet. But yeah, I think like this is going to go into a hot take that I'll talk about in a bit. But yeah, there has been quite a bit of content that is missing from Evolution 1 when going into Evolution 2. Like right off the bat, we have some of the maps. So in Evolution 1, you're able to play on the in the 5 deaths. So you know, Isla Muetra, Isla Pena, Isla Kano. What was the fourth one before Sorna? But yeah, you were able to play on the 5 deaths. And you know, going into Evolution 2, we never got the 5 deaths back outside of Sorna, which I think is kind of a missed opportunity, because I think, you know, given the fact that Evolution 2 was very heavy on, you know, different locations throughout the Americas, while this game is like focusing on the greater world, I think there was definitely a lost opportunity into making those islands more unique to each other. But not only did we lose the 5 deaths, but we also lost Sanctuary Island, which was the DLC map in the initial game. So yeah, it would be nice to see some of those maps make a comeback. And since we talked about Sanctuary Island from Evolution 1, the greenhouse, which it's kind of surprising how Frontier didn't find a way to implement the greenhouse, especially since in Evolution 2, one of the main features for that game in the initial gameplay loop is making specific plants for species that really needed them. So you couldn't like just do what you did in Evolution 1, which is like bunch of every single herbivore in a single enclosure. Instead, you needed to be very specific about it. So I'm kind of surprised that we didn't see a greenhouse, since plants for specific herbivores was such a feature in Evolution 2. Like, I could easily seen the greenhouse kind of work like a fossil expedition, you know, researching certain plants or hybridizing certain plants so multiple species of herbivores could eat the same plant and kind of get the same benefits when being fed specific plants. And of course, finally, dinosaur skins. So there's another video. Miles, if you're watching this, you know which one I'm talking about. Okay, so another thing that I'm really hoping for is multiple skin patterns. So if you go back to Evolution 2, there was a post by Frontier, one of the devs from Frontier, who talked about that, how the customizable skin feature was going to work. And initially it said that it was going to have multiple patterns completely distinct from one another. You could change the color of those patterns. However, that post was then changed into only you have the one pattern and you can only change the colors of that specific pattern. And since then, I'm pretty sure I'm in a minority with this, but a couple of people, very few people, were asking for multiple skin patterns being integrated into the customizable skins. And we did kind of get that when the Dominion variants of certain species kind of came out. And then those animals had like their own skins that you could customize with those specific models. But yeah, that was like the closest we ever gotten. And you know, there were certain skins from those variants that we couldn't recreate in the initial versions of those animals. But it seems like we might finally be getting multiple skins. So throughout the trailer, we actually see the T-Rex. Like the T-Rex is the main example here, but there's several other examples that I'll point out. So the T-Rex seems to be using the default pattern from Evolution 2. You know, it has like the stripes running down its back, and it also has like a few stubbles of spikes along the tail before it kind of like tapers out and completely disappears. However, if you were to go into the Steam page for Jurassic World Evolution 2, or, you know, just find this GIF of this T-Rex roaring, it has a different pattern to it. It's definitely not the pattern that we see in Evolution 2. It's kind of more blotchy, and the stripes, rather than going straight down, they're kind of like going back towards the legs almost. And then there's another example of a different T-Rex pattern, but you could barely see it. It's like the green Rex in the trailers, and it seems to have like a less tapered line pattern, although that could be the initial pattern that we saw in Evolution 2, and some of the colors are just blending in better with the green, because, you know, that's something that happened in Evolution 2, where certain skin bases like match up a little too well with the pattern, and then the pattern just kind of fades in with the skin base. And, you know, let's talk about the Velociraptor, because in the same way that the T-Rex has an animation, you have this Velociraptor interacting with a baby, and it has like this really big red blotch on its nose. And then you compare that with the raptors that we see in the trailers, which are clearly using the Frontier skin patterns that have been used between Evolution 1 and Evolution 2. So yeah, it seems like we might be getting multiple skin patterns for the animals, which is honestly really exciting. I think this was a feature that is definitely needed, because I will say this, the customizable skin patterns in Evolution 2 felt more like a gimmick rather than a feature, mainly because it was only the one pattern, and you can only change the color of that pattern. And this actually is going to go into my hot take later on, but we'll talk about that. But, you know, if we are going to get multiple patterns for these animals, then that just feels more like a core feature to me, rather than the gimmicky kind of feature that we got in the previous game. And also talk about multiple skins, I wonder if we'll be able to edit the skins of some of the movie dinosaurs. Now, we haven't seen any movie skins being implemented into Evolution 3, and we'll talk about more about that when we're talking about the remove content in the concern part of the video. But yeah, we do have like multiple patterns that Frontier could be using. We have both the patterns of Evolution 2, we have the Eevee Tyrannosaurs, we have the Jurassic Park Tyrannosaurs, and I guess if you really want to dig for more skin variants, you could even go back to Evolution 1, where there's a lot of missing skins in that game that haven't been implemented in Evolution 2, nor could you recreate them in Evolution 2, and hopefully we could potentially see it come back in Evolution 3. You know, skin patterns. I really do hope that we have a guide to more movie skins, because in Evolution 2, I find it kind of difficult to try and recreate certain skins from the Jurassic World movies. Like, there was no indicator of the patterns that I chose for the Mosasaur were indicative of how the animal looked in Jurassic World. Like, I played a lot of guessing, and I don't know, every time I tried to recreate the Mosasaur skin from Jurassic World, something just fell a little off. And the same thing with the Jurassic World versions of the Pteranodon. So I really hope that we do get more movie-specific skins, or at least indications that this base skin is indicative of the Mosasaur from 2015, along with this pattern. Another thing I'm really hoping for is that we get more frontier-made hybrids. So if you go back to Evolution 1 and Evolution 2, we had the Spinoraptor, the Ankylodocus, and their version of the Stegoceratops. So we'll talk about the fate of those 3 specific species in a bit, but I do hope that if they do plan on playing around with more out there dinosaurs, I really do hope that they can implement some of their own hybrids, because as fun as it is to get like only movie species, there's also something kind of fun about seeing what the company itself will make, rather than kind of going with the species that we only see in the films. So yeah, hopefully we get more wacky hybrids like that, maybe like a Carnoraptor from Jurassic Park the game, maybe even a screen-accurate Nasutoceratops Stegosaurus hybrid, that version of the Stegoceratops, but I don't know. Okay, so another thing I really want to talk about is the Lux gene, and I was honestly kind of excited because it looked like we were going to get Lux patterns for all the animals, but that was quickly extinguished when I realized that that Mosasaur was a Deluxe exclusive, so you know what, we might as well talk about it. So my hope for the Lux gene is that you could turn on, kind of like the Indominus Rex's camouflage from the Secrets of Dr. Wu DLC. And you know, I'm just gonna like go off on a limb here. So I think how the Lux patterns work in the Evolution games is that they increase the, I believe it's the luminosity, emission. It's called emission of the certain pattern, and I think that's kind of proven how when the animals glow at night, it doesn't really cast its own light source. Rather, it's just the pattern itself just upping its own brightness, but not really emitting that much light. It's hard to explain. Yeah, I think like that's kind of the thing about the Lux feature in Evolution 2. It was only certain patterns had the Lux feature into it. But I really do hope that what we could instead have is, you know, you could choose whatever pattern you want, and it could be whatever color you want, and then you turn on a Lux gene, and that pattern can glow, and implement that to every animal. Because I think it would be really fun to see animals outside of the Parasaurolophus and some of the DLC animals from the previous game only being confined to several Lux skins, but instead have that be a gene that could be turned on, and you know, whatever pattern you choose, whatever color it might be, it ends up glowing, and I think that'd be honestly pretty cool. Alright, now finally for hopes, which we might be seeing, is unique enclosure types. So one thing that I've seen quite a few people request over the years is a petting zoo, and we're finally getting that. But that also brings up the question of other potential unique enclosures, like T-Rex Kingdom from Jurassic World, or the Raptor Arena, also from Jurassic World. Now it seems like we could either make those happen, you know, like make a small heavy fenced enclosure and then setting up like seats for people to look in, and making giant concrete walls on the outside, and that way we can make the T-Rex Kingdom. And maybe same thing for the Velociraptor Arena, where we have to actively make a Velociraptor Arena. But if it's something that we could just place down, that would also be pretty cool. That's kind of the hope, is that either we get unique enclosures or we have the ability to make those unique enclosures. Okay, now we get to the pessimistic part. Concerns. Alright, let's start off with concern number 1, that being AI generated scientists. So while the implication is that AI is only going to be used to generate artificial human beings, I think the fact that AI is even being used to begin with is definitely a detriment to the integrity of the developers in the game. Mainly because I guess why not do what they did before, since it worked so much? And I think the fact that so many players of Jurassic World Evolution have even volunteered to have their likenesses used as a potential scientist, I don't know, it's like, to me this feels like a disconnect between the community and what the developers want for the game, which is kind of unfortunate that they feel the need to use AI generated images for scientists. But I think there's even a deeper implication to this, which is simply, if they are willing to use AI generated images for for like this small part in the game, who's to say they wouldn't go back to it and use it for other potential elements later down the line, whether it be making up new designs for certain species, or even skin patterns, building materials, all that. So I definitely think that's something to keep a close eye on, pretty much. Now, another major concern that I have with Evolution 3 is the transition between games. Will this be similar to the transition between Evolution 1 and Evolution 2? Because, quick reminder, when Evolution 2 came out, it didn't feel like a continuation of the initial Jurassic World Evolution. It felt like, the best way to put it is, like, they did take steps forward, you know, with the advancements in the avian animals being, rather than, you know, this kind of glorified fish tank, actually had their own AI. They actually had, they could break out, they can attack people, so on and so forth, rather than in the first game where they just go off into the ether when they're released. Or the fact that we have aquatic reptiles now, which was a highly requested feature for Evolution 1. But where they take like a couple steps forward, it feels like they took many steps back, because some of the things weren't exactly fine-tuned. Like Evolution 2 felt more like Evolution 1.5. There were certain features from updates from Evolution 1 that were missing in Evolution 2. Like when you go into sandbox mode, you still needed to more or less go about it like you were in the campaign. So you needed to have like a science building, you need to hire scientists, so on and so forth. So it felt less like a sandbox mode rather than like a campaign light almost. And that was just one of the examples. There's like a whole slew of other examples of how the transition between Evolution 1 and Evolution 2 was just a little bit more rough than we initially expected. Like we thought this was going to be an improvement, but rather it felt like there were a couple of things missing. And you know, this also kind of goes into some of the missing content from Evolution 1 to Evolution 2. And you know what, speaking of missing content, we might as well address the 40-some missing species in the room. So it was announced that Evolution 3 will feature little over 80 species in its game. Here's the problem with that though. When you look at the total species count in Evolution 2, considering all the DLCs included, we have a total of 122 species. Now, some species are definitely more popular than others. There's definitely some animals that the vast majority prefer over some. And in my opinion, there are definitely some species in there that are redundant and don't really need to be in the game. But when you have a player base that is over 6,000 strong, and you have a game with about 122 species, you're definitely going to have a couple of individuals who like at least one of those 122 species. So I'm saying, like, there's a chance that your favorite species might get cut. Like, if you have a top 10, then there's a good chance that at least one or two of those animals are not going to make it into Evolution 3. I think it's also safe to assume that some of these species will be cut because they're kind of redundant. For example, like Hyungosaurus. As much fun it is to have like a pygmy Stegosaurus in the park, it will probably be cut because we have Kentrosaurus. And also, I think Proceratosaurus would probably go because we already have Monolophosaurus, and now we're getting Guanlong with the deluxe edition. It'd be kind of weird to have Proceratosaurus show up again, as it was marketed in Evolution 1 as the granddaddy of T-Rex, and it'd be kind of weird to have that in Evolution 3 when we have Guanlong also coming to Evolution 3. So yeah, again, it's like it's too early to tell what the full roster of the 80 plus species is going to be, but yeah, we'll find out sooner rather than later probably. But I think another thing about this is how irritating it is that that we're kind of doing this again, because the last two DLCs for Evolution 2 actually brought in some of the most highly requested animals to appear in the Evolution games. Key example, we had the secret hybrid species pack, which included the Spinoraptor, the Ankylodocus, and the Stegoceratops. species that were missing from the initial launch of Evolution 2 and had been widely requested and speculated to appear again in the game until finally they repackaged it into another paid DLC. That was like the penultimate DLC. Then you had the last DLC, which I think it was like the Species Manager List Pack or something like that, which included Microceratus and Megalodon. So the fact that we finally got like some of the most requested species, like we finally got the Doctor Who hybrids, which were missing from the first Evolution game. We got the Spinoceratops, which was one of the last few species from Camp Cretaceous that needed to make its way into the Evolution games. And then you have the second DLC, the last DLC, which included Microceratus, which was the last filmed dinosaur that needed to appear in the Evolution games before we could finally say that Evolution 2 has like the complete roster of all the animals that we've seen in the motion pictures, in the TV shows, and the movies. But I think just as significantly, we also had the inclusion of Megalodon, an animal that we've been requesting ever since aquatics were confirmed for Evolution 2. But also, it's kind of prevalent because Megalodon is the first Cenozoic creature to appear in the Evolution games. I mean, sure, that title should have went to the Smilodon, which actually appeared in Camp Cretaceous, but, it was nice to finally have, like, at least representatives of the three main time groups. You have Listersaurus and Dimetrodon from the Paleozoic, everything else from the Mesozoic, and then Megalodon presenting the Cenozoic. So yeah, the fact that we might be losing on those highly requested creatures that we waited a couple of years for, like it wasn't that long a wait, but we'll talk more about that in a bit. It's kind of irritating, to say the least. Now, I will say that some species being removed from the roster and potentially being reintroduced through certain DLC packs, I think is the way to go. So Best in Slot mentioned this in his video, and I kind of agree with him. So I think a good example of animals that could use some reworking is the Suchomimus and the Majungasaurus, which did appear in Chaos Theory, and I could easily see those being repackaged into a Chaos Theory pack. Now, there is something that should be stated, and that is the fact that we have confirmation that a little over 80 species are going to be in the game. However, it was never stated that all of those species are going to be returning species from Evolution 2. That's kind of the consensus that a lot of people have been going with, but who's to say that the developers of Frontier didn't just include other new species that haven't been included in Evolution 2? So, if anything, the cut species might be even more than we initially thought. Before, it was thought that it was going to be around 40 species that'd be missing, but it might be even higher than that. But it really depends on how much new content the developers are hoping to include in Evolution 3. Now, I will say, there is a bit of a silver lining here, and both Gaming Beaver and Best in Slot kind of made really good examples of this. And I've mentioned this before, but some of the species potentially being reintegrated as new species. So I talked about how the sexual dimorphism, one thing you could do is rather than having, both variants having their own male, female, and youngster counterparts, just, make one variant a male and another variant a female. One thing you could do is also reintegrate those variants as different species. So maybe for the Evolution 1 Allosaurus, you can have it be Saurophaganax, or Allosaurus annex, I think is what it's called now. Have the Evolution 1 Giganotosaurus be Mapusaurus. And it's kind of implied, but, the Dreadnoughtus that the Evolution team ended up making bears some resemblance to the Titanosaurus that we're going to be seeing in Rebirth. And since, Titanosaurus and Argentinosaurus are like in the same family group, maybe you could rework the Evolution 1 Dreadnoughtus to be an Argentinosaurus maybe. So that's one way you could go about it. Another way you could go about it is reintegrating some of these species as being younger variants of the adult species. So I think a really good example of this is, as Beaver mentioned, Draco Rex being a young Pachycephalosaurus. It's just a way to ensure that we don't really miss out on certain pieces of content, but also it gives a better chance that everything that we've seen in the previous games make it into this new game. Sure, there's going to be some sacrifices to that, like if the Draco Rex does end up being a young version of a Pachycephalosaurus, then you could only have that model for a limited time before it eventually transitions to an adult. But at least it exists. I guess there's that. And I think another thing we should probably talk about is some of the cut species potentially being reworked in future DLCs. And Best in Slot mentioned this. I think a really good example of this is the Suchomimus and the Majungasaurus, which actually appeared in Chaos Theory. They were original species that were in Jurassic World Evolution since the first game. So potentially seeing those two being taken out as one of the 82 species that's already in Evolution 3, but reworked into a Chaos Theory DLC, I think that could work. Or at least, I mean, it's not like we haven't seen Jurassic World Evolution release DLCs with improved looks of certain animals. So yeah, this does also bring me up to another thing that we should probably talk about, and that is the fact that 40 species, potentially more, are going to be missing in Jurassic World Evolution 2. But let's just say that every single species, all 80 plus that's going to be in Evolution 3 are going to be returning species. And we have a leftover of 40. I was kind of curious about this and decided to do a little math. And, oh boy. So if you were to take every single expansion from Evolution 2, add up all the new species that were included in each of those DLC packs, you have a round number of little over 40 species that were added into Evolution 2 via DLCs. And now we have this game, which has 82 species, cutting out a little over 40, and this game is going to have, well, we don't know how long this development cycle is going to be. Like, if you were to look at the development cycles for Evolution 1, it was 1 year, 6 months, give or take 2 days. And for Evolution 2, it was 2 years, 6 months, and 7 days, or a week. So, yeah. Evolution 2 definitely had a longer development cycle than Evolution 1, but kind of know where I'm going with this, and you know, the implications that a lot of other creators have expressed is that, oh, some of these missing species will probably be reintegrated through DLCs. My concern is, will every DLC for Evolution 3 just be all of these missing species re-released? Are we going to see something similar to the penultimate DLC for Evolution 2, where we had 3 returning species from Evolution 1, but only the one new species that was featured in a TV show? And, you know, I think that's my major concern, because the one fun thing about these games is the new content, the new mechanics, equally as that, if not more, the new animals. And I remember being immensely disappointed with Evolution 2 with the lack of new animals that they integrated, because the majority of its roster were just all but 3 of the animals from Evolution 1 making their way back into Evolution 2. I guess we'll find out sooner rather than later. And you know what, I'm just going to include this in the concern section, because there's a good chance that there's going to be some people that will buy into Evolution 3 expecting this, but let's talk about Jurassic World Rebirth and the potential game content from that. I don't think we're going to get Rebirth content on day one. I think the Rebirth content is going to be included in DLC. So here's my conspiratorial tinfoil hat theory. So Evolution 3 is set to release on October 21st, which, if you really think about it, it's kind of a weird release date. It's around 2 months away from Christmas. It's kind of strange how we have like this huge spans of time between, you know, the holiday season where gifts are kind of the whole marketing campaign for that holiday, and then having this game release on October 21st. So I think that the reason why the game is releasing when it's releasing is so that Frontier will have enough time. Actually, if anything, they might actually already have a DLC ready, but just have the game release on October 21st, and then have the DLC release sometime closer to December, closer to Christmas time. And yeah, I think this also kind of goes into the first DLCs that Evolution 2 got. Let me just double confirm that. Jurassic World Evolution 2 first DLC. Yeah, so if you look at the release date for Jurassic World Evolution 2, it released on November 9th of 2021, and the first DLC for that game released on December 9th of 2021. So yeah, I definitely think that we're not going to be getting any of the rebirth species or cosmetics for Evolution 3. I think everything concerning rebirth will be released in its own separate DLC sometime in December. But yeah, this kind of brings me to the last point, and this kind of goes hand in hand with the missing content that we've been seeing since Evolution 1 to Evolution 2, and now with Evolution 3 with the missing species. Some people are probably not going to like this take, but the potential of Evolution 4 in mind, and yes, I do mean Evolution 4, not Evolution 3, kind of makes me think that maybe the Evolution games shouldn't have been games on their own. I think games like Evolution 2 and Evolution 3 should have just been expansions for Evolution 1. Now, I didn't share this because I didn't really have the opportunity to talk about my thoughts on Evolution 2, but I think Evolution 2 was kind of a disappointment in my opinion. A lot of the new features felt like additional add-ons or just kind of gimmicks when compared to some of the stuff that we've seen in Evolution 1. And this kind of brings me to the point of, I think that Evolution 2 should have been an expansion to Evolution 1. Mainly because when you kind of take into account all the new elements that Evolution 2 kind of brings to the table, I argue that some of them could have been reworked or revamped for Evolution 1. Like the new system for the pterosaurs, like the modular aviaries. I think that could have easily been implemented. Same with new interactions and animations for the pterosaurs. Like it's not new for the devs of the first Evolution game to implement new behaviors and animations to the animals. So I felt like that was more than well in their wheelhouse when it comes to what they could be doing in terms of making Evolution 2 an expansion to Evolution 1. And also the marine reptiles, like again, they do not interact with anything outside of the aquariums, and they're kind of like a glorified Evolution 1 Pteranodons. So I think that could have easily been implemented into Evolution 1 rather than being a feature in Evolution 2. And outside of that, everything else I think could have been easily implemented. Evolution 2 could have easily been implemented into Evolution 1. And I definitely think some of the features from Evolution 2 would have benefited more if it had been an expansion to Evolution 1. Like, key example of this being the campaign in Evolution 2. It was never improved on. Like, we got that campaign, it just ended off in a really weird note, and in spite of having 2 years of development and multiple DLCs, that campaign was never finished. It was never updated on. And sure, we got new campaigns like the 2 Malta DLCs, but beyond that, nothing for the main campaign. Like, we didn't get a Secrets of Dr. Wu, which implemented new missions. That's it. And, it really felt like Evolution 2 was just bells and whistles, in my opinion. And I definitely think it would have been stronger had it just been an expansion for Evolution 1. And now going into Evolution 3, we're kind of seeing the same thing, but to more of an extent. The fact that we are getting 40 species being cut from the 122 means that we're going to get some missing content. The fact that we might be even missing on some more maps, also a case of missing content happening. Like, we're so close to the ultimate Jurassic Park simulator game, and it does feel like every time these games kind of reach the end of their development cycle, they're like really close to the apex of being the perfect game. Like, they got everything that they needed to include. Like, I think the thing with Evolution 1 was we were hoping for all the J-POC species to come back, and they did. And it really felt like once they implemented the Return to Jurassic Park DLC with all the leftover animals and the cosmetics from the Jurassic Park movies, it really felt like we were about to go to the next step for that game, for Evolution 1 specifically. But then instead, we had Evolution 2, which, again, took a few steps forward, but also took a lot of steps back. And that resulted in a game that just didn't really feel like its own game, in my opinion. And it felt it could have been better as an expansion. And now we have Evolution 3, which we're seeing the same complaints happening again, and the worry of your favorite dinosaurs being missing, certain mechanics being lost, so on and so forth. But yeah, that's just my personal opinion. And then there's also the question of if this is going to be like Frontier's FIFA, for example, then should we buy Evolution 3? Should we just wait it out and see if they'll potentially make an Evolution 4? And yeah, it's like that's kind of the main reason why I think these games shouldn't be games, but rather expansions for the first game. It just feels like the level of progress between the developments is very minimal, to say the least. I hate saying this, but at the same time, I feel like I remember walking away from Evolution 2 being really, really disappointed in what that game kind of provided. And sure, everything was fixed, whether it be the addition of missing species, the mechanics being fixed through updates, so on and so forth. But to this day, I still feel like Evolution 2 isn't its own game. And the fact that it has like this kind of weird lukewarm in between itself being its own game and what was introduced in Evolution 1 is kind of poignant to that. And like I said, as these games kind of reach the apex of their development cycles, it feels like there's still a lot more that could be done. Like, yeah, you had the platform ready, now make something great. Never mind, I guess we're making another game. So yeah, that's just kind of my problem. And I'm kind of hesitant about going into Evolution 3, assuming that the same problems that plagued the transition between Evolution 1 and Evolution 2 might repeat itself with the transition between Evolution 2 and Evolution 3. But yeah, I definitely think that this game is going to have a few less pitfalls when compared to Evolution 2. Like, Evolution 2 was kind of cursed having to release in the time that was given during one of the most turbulent times that we've experienced recently, that being the COVID-19 pandemic. Like, I think the initial idea was Evolution 2 would release after the movie Jurassic World Dominion, but Jurassic World Dominion was pushed back because of COVID restrictions. And then, the Evolution team, the devs at Frontier were just kind of like pushed to a corner, and they were forced to release the game as is, rather than, kind of having that additional content or context from the Dominion movie. But that's not going to be the case here. Alright, Rebirth is going to come out, actually, by the end of this month, more or less. And the game is coming out in October, so definitely more than enough time for people to watch Rebirth, get the context of that story, and kind of piece things together on their own in Evolution 3. But then again, it's like, I'm saying all of this without having even played Evolution 3. So yeah, it all depends on how well the game kind of holds itself. Because, if it does end up having some of the same problems that Evolution 2 had, or all of the exact same problems as Evolution 2, then I think the question should be raised on whether or not these games should be games or should they be just expansions. But yeah, that's everything I wanted to say about Evolution 3. Am I excited? Oh, hell yeah, of course I'm excited. I've been asking for a successor for J-pop for quite a while, and now we have 3 of them. So that's honestly really awesome. I'm still kind of bummed about the potential cut content between Evolution 1 to 3. So yeah, there's that. But I think we're in for something great. Hopefully, everything that Frontier has learned from the past 2 games will be integrated into this third one, and they will avoid making the same mistakes and start building up on the hopes and anticipations of the audience. But yeah, that's the video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and yeah, I guess I'll see you all for the release of Jurassic World Evolution 3. But before that, there's a certain timeline video that I got to do. So until then, yeah, I guess that's it. Go away now.